So this second tutorial is about changing population at the national scale. And I'm going to use two examples. I'm going to look at China and I'm going to look at Nigeria, which have been resourced heavily in the site. So the syllabus is talking about population distribution and economic development at the national scale. And it's including in that the idea of voluntary internal migration, this core periphery pattern that exists, as well as megacity growth. So John Friedman, the urban geographer, identified this model of core periphery, and really it can be applied at any scale from the city right up to the global scale. The core tends to be urban, it's resource rich, developed infrastructure, it's well connected, it has great trade, and this drives population growth through immigration and then later natural increase. And there's jobs and employment and wealth in the core. And that contrasts with the rural periphery, which is based around an agricultural economy. It tends to be less connected. It has a lower population base. It is resource rich, but those resources flow outwards or rather inwards to the core. And, and it's experiencing out migration of people. So that's the core periphery model. This is leading to high population densities in certain areas. So in these two countries, and really you could probably apply this to any country, you've got your economic core in that country. And here we see in China, that's the East Coast. We're experiencing, and China has been experiencing, massive rural to urban migration over the last 20, 30 years. And that's clear to see with the megacities that are emerging there, high concentrations of people. In Nigeria, it's not obvious with this choropleth and this range of data shown in the map. Here's, you've got northern cities there, which are dominant, and the southern region is dominant. But really in Nigeria, you have got that dominance of the Delta region in the south. It's oil rich. You've got an elite political group that control those resources, and that draws people into that area. If we consider that movement of people into regions, well, the arrows here that represent the data, you can see that China East China is drawing masses of people to its cities, the economic growth, the job creation that's there, the improved quality of life that comes with an urban lifestyle compared to that remote rural lifestyle. In Nigeria, the map on the right, this looks very complex. Again, larger arrows showing the larger movement of people. But you definitely see in this map that there's kind of movement to core areas, but at the same time there's movement out as well. So it shows a far more fluid pattern of internal migration, perhaps people moving into the city but moving back, maybe supporting family in rural areas. And so actually we get a far more dynamic pattern of internal migration, but still large arrows focused on certain locations where predominantly cores are emerging. So if we look at mega city growth in China, you can see actually the dominance here of certain regions, certain cities in terms of the GDP that they offer. And in Nigeria, you really have the dominance of just one city, Lagos. So here at the bottom, if Lagos were a country, you'd see that where it ranks in terms of its GDP. So a significantly large economy in Lagos, providing that kind of economic core in the Delta region. So things that you might want to consider in terms of synthesis, or what factors influence where people choose to live. How do these factors differ in Nigeria and China? Are human or physical factors more dominant? And so, whether that be to do with resources, whether that to be relating to political stability, or a political drive for economic development, these are the issues that you should explore.